Hey guys, Veebat here with another V-Plays, and today we're looking at the Su-9. Now the Su-9 is going to be the Tier 8 multi-role going down the Russian line, and this is coming right off of the Yak-9U. Now, just like the Yak-9U, this does sport two centrally located 23mm cannons and a 45mm kind of sniperish derp cannon that we're used to. But first thing you'll notice here is that this thing has two jet engines, right? This is going to be very reminiscent while you're flying, sitting here looking at its tail feathers of a 262. Reason being is that those are going to be the RD-10 engines. The RD-10 engines are going to be unlicensed copies, I guess you could say, of the Jumo 004s. After World War II, the Russians found a bunch of the German Jumo 004 engines and ended up grabbing a bunch of those and equipping them to a bunch of their airframes, but of course those engines burned out rather quickly, so they reverse engineered the engines and made their RD-10 versions. As you can see here, the first thing we're doing with this aircraft is heading over to the airfield, and we're flying it just like we would our Yak-9U. We're looking for isolated aircraft, we're picking our targets carefully, and trying to find something that isn't interested in us and just kind of doing its own thing, like this Zero right here, and just letting that cannon do its job. But now we've got a XP-72 doing a head-on here, getting those cannons on target, and the 23s mostly finished it off. These 23s are going to be the second grade of upgraded cannon that you would find on the Yak-15, so not quite the Tier 10 version, but still have that 2,600 foot range reach, which is nice. Getting these 45 to hit real good here, and then I'm letting the 23 sing in order to finish off what's left of that 109Z. We do have the two bombs underneath the airframe here. I don't really see this as being much of a turning fighter or even a high altitude, high speed fighter. You can see here even getting up to about 7,000 feet is proving to be a difficult endeavor for us. I probably should have just left that to the 109G, and we're already stalling out because this aircraft stalls out at about 124 miles an hour, which means that we're really going to be feeling the same type of hurt that we felt in the 9U. Trying to get that cannon on target, no such luck. We're going to go ahead and breeze past him because we are in a much faster platform now, and then we're going to settle in on this ground attacker because I see that that multi-role has broken off. Dr. Spade is one of the few players on the enemy team. There are two ground attackers. I'm trying to avoid these bombs. I see him kind of getting dropped right here, and I get a little close to the ground here. I know he dropped a bomb, and we end up taking a hit to the tail as a result of that bomb coming and impacting the ground, and we took the splash. So we're going to have to go ahead and let ourselves recoup a little bit and see if we can head over here and help our allies as they try and take the mining facility. I do have my two bombs left, so I figure I can at least drop those and lend a helping hand. The aircraft's altitude, for optimum altitude, its max is going to be just below 5,000 feet. I think it's 4,500, so it's relatively low. But that's fine, we're used to that at this point, and that's going to continue through the rest of the line. The aircraft does sport an impressive speed performance compared to the Yak-9U, but the Yak-9U had much better turn characteristics, so we're really just making a trade here at this point. A mining facility, aside from being able to drop a bomb, there's not much else we can do here except for maybe kill an aircraft inside the zone. See if we can get this 109 into the zone. Not quite into the zone enough. It looked like he was just skirting it, but let's go ahead and see if we can get into a good head-on with one of these other aircraft, because that's usually where we fare decently well.
Air supremacy achieved.
We managed to capture the zone as a result of taking out that Typhoon. That was done by our bot ally Sinclair in the 1056. Just trying to line up that 45. The characteristics of the big cannon are going to be very similar to what we have seen coming from the 9U. We have this KI-84. He manages to get our ground attacker, but perfect. Lined up that shot and managed to derp him out. We do have this XB-75 coming in, taking my time, being patient, lining up that big cannon, and oh, perfect hit. Managed to knock him out, and we had enough momentum to keep us from stalling out during that climb. This does have a 15-second boost, which is good because it's going to allow us to be able to get up to those pretty decent speeds. Now this thing can get up to 500 plus, but I found that I'm able to hold about 400 miles an hour fairly well by pulsing the boost. This P-80 has decided to ignore me, which is a dangerous move on his part, but my ally has just taken him out, so that's good that we were able to work together to put him in a bad spot. Trying to help at 109G again. We managed to land one of those shots, and then our 109 finished taking him out. You know we did a lion's share of the damage because we got 125 points for that kill, even though we weren't the one to land the final blow. We get a nice hit on that 109 TL, and now we're finishing the battle as the top player on the team. Let's go ahead and get to the hangar, take a look at the end results screen, and we'll talk a little bit about the grind to get us to this point with the Su-9. Alright, so here we are at the end results screen. You can see we racked up about 10,000 personal points, and since we are at tier 8, we're making a decent amount of experience right now, which is good because we're actually running with a brand new pilot. Since I opted to keep the Yak-9U, I am keeping that pilot and that aircraft as well, so we're starting a whole new guy, but hopefully we'll be able to get him up to that 5 skill point that we really want to get this airframe up to. First, we got firefighting. The next skill we're going to be getting on this airframe will be aerodynamics expert, and then the 5-point skill will go towards marksman 1, and if we get to the point where we have a 7-point skill pilot, which I'm assuming we will by the time we get to tier 10, we will put on engine guru, which is kind of been the staple of how I set up these airframes. Now let's look at the airframe itself. You'll see here that it's an easier grind than what we were used to, especially if you've done other Russian lines that you've ground through. So let's go ahead and take a look at these engines to start out. You'll see that the RDA-1 or RD-10A is going to come off the Yak-15. So if you've done the Yak-15 and you've upgraded it, which we have, you will automatically get this engine. But wait, there's more. The RD-10F also comes from the Yak-15, so if you take the time and effort to fully upgrade the line on the Yak-15 for the engines, it will also carry over to the Su-9 and is also going to give you the second engine on the Yak-19. So it's usually worth your while to go ahead and fully flesh out the lines for each one of these particular airframes. Now let's go back to the Su-9. The 23mm cannons are going to be the same 23mm cannons that we would get on the Yak-15 and the MiG-9. So this is a nice little bump. It's not the top guns, but it's one of the intermediate guns that lead up to the top set of guns on the Yak-15. Why do I keep doing that when I can just do this? There we go. Yep, you can see here it's going to be the 23 KMU versions of these guns. So you've already got the top 23s, you already got the top engines, so the only thing we really need to unlock is going to be the bombs and the gun. Now, I think we obviously know which one we're going to be going for first, since the stock 37mm cannon is going to be kind of that derpy close range cannon, which again is pulling us away from what we've been used to going from the Yak-7 all the way through the Yak-9U at this point. This line is meant to kind of be the long-range derpy sniper guns, so let's go ahead and get this 45, which we did first, and then it was only a 2,000 and some change XP to get the bombs. Since this aircraft isn't really meant to be in dogfights, it really isn't going to be winning any speed competitions with a lot of aircraft. We're really there to be a gun platform, so to have the bombs on the aircraft isn't hurting us too bad. They do take 180 seconds to reload, so I wouldn't rely on these bombs. It's just something nice to have to be able to offload, and they are kind of oddly placed when they're pretty much touching each other in the center line of the aircraft, but it does remind me very much of the bomb configuration you would see on the 262, which is important because, well, aside from the wings in the center line here, the engines are going to be the rip-offs. These RD-10s are all rip-offs of the Jumo engines that Russia got from Germany after the liberation. Like I said, you're not going to be winning any turn or speed competitions, so your turn is a 12.1 turn time with the current setup we have now, which is the only thing that gives us an advantage for turn is going to be the improved lightweight wing frame, and eventually we will get aerodynamics expert, which will give a little bit of a bump to that. In addition to that, you're going to see that the airspeed is going to be a lot better than what we saw with the Yak-9U. You're going to be able to get up to 516 miles an hour if you need to. You can get up to 559 in the dive, and you cruise at around 278. Comparing that to its predecessor, where you topped off in the 400s, you're easily going to be getting a lot more speed, which is good because you're going to be at a tier where things are faster. So you're essentially trading a lot of the maneuverability for speed, because the Yak-9U was able to get in a turn at about 10.5 seconds for a 360 turn, which is pretty good. So it allowed it to be able to dogfight those other multi-rolls fairly easily. But the Yak-9U is going to find itself lacking by comparison. Altitude performance is going to be pretty much what we've been experiencing all along. It's going to be sub 5,000 feet for maximum optimum altitude, and its stall performance are just as bad as what you saw with the Yak-9U, especially considering that its stall is going to be at 124 opposed to the 87 that you would see with the Yak-9U. But again, you're going to be traveling at an overall higher speed consistently throughout the battle, so it felt similar. I didn't feel like there was much of a change. The advantage of being able to get across the battlefield much more effectively in a faster airframe is a nice to have and does make it a little bit more viable. Just remember that you're really there to be picking off targets at range and killing them on that single pass like we did during this past battle, getting into those head-ons and not panicking, lining up those shots and getting that big 45 to unload. Again, this really does benefit from having another key for the secondary armament, being the 23mm cannons. That way you can let those things sing while you're letting that 45 cool down properly, because once you overheat a gun, it actually takes a little bit more time for it to cool down than it would if you were to just pulse fire it and use it in a very methodical manner and preventing it from getting to that overheated state. Anyways, that pretty much concludes it for the Su-9. It's very much a stepping stone as we work our way down to the I-215, because the end goal is to try and get to something that has absolutely massive dirt power and just kind of a farce of an aircraft, because really it's just the fun line that we're grinding right now. I've pretty much done all of the lines of things I wanted to do, like things that I think are going to be competitive. So here I am with the Su-9 and just kind of goofing around as I'm fleshing out the rest of the tech tree. That does bring me to a side point here. Somebody was asking me to do lower tiered aircraft. I will show you, here's my trees of what I have unlocked. The Americans are completely unlocked, so there's something you want me to go back and buy. I'm willing to give it a shot. Just let me know and we can buy it back and maybe fly it for a little bit. Same thing with the USSR. The only lines I haven't ground was the LA line, and we're working our way through the rest. You guys have pretty much been watching me do that. And then obviously the German line, we're up to tier 8 across the board, so there is all the predecessors for each one of those. Same thing goes for Japan and the UK. We're still working to get the Spitfire. Aside from that, we have done all of the airframes, except I never did the Hurricane, and I never did the Hurricane 2 or the Tornado. I never unlocked any of these, so we didn't make it through those 3 at all. So, but I'm willing to go back and buy back some of these aircraft if you guys really want to see it. But if I've already done a video, I'm just going to direct you to that. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed, and I will catch you on the next one.